All right, guys, welcome to lesson 4.4, short unit, guys. We're just getting our way through it here, and we're already with lesson 4, guys. So we talked about how to write expressions, evaluate, or find the evaluate, or to evaluate, find the answers, to solve expressions, and then to use like terms to simplify expressions. And now we're going to talk about the distributive property to simplify expressions. So that's our learning target this time on this lesson, is how can we use our, how can we simplify expressions by using our distributive property. And the distributive property is going to be very important to you guys. I can simplify algebraic expressions by using the distributive property. Make sure you get that right down from your learning target. Simplifying algebraic expressions, and then hopefully you'll be able to use that to do well on your mastery check. So simplifying algebraic expressions by using our distributive property. So what is the distributive property? And guys, how is this going to be so useful? Because you're going to really use this unit, next unit, and then next year in algebra and so forth. So we take the number on the outside. Hopefully you remember this as I talked about it from last year. And you multiply by both values on the inside of our parentheses. Guys, when you have a minus inside, I highly recommend that you keep add opposite, that you change it to an addition sign, and then change this to negative. Because then you'll be doing a multiplied by b, and then a multiplied by the negative c. It creates a subtraction sign in there. So here's some examples for you guys to refer back to if you ever have a question about the distributive property. Alright, so here's an example of the distributive property. Simple example distributive property. One that, hopefully you guys can do, especially if you remember from last year, or as we do this, you might come back to you pretty quickly. So we have 5 multiplied by 3x plus, this addition sign comes straight down, 5 multiplied by 6. So we get 15x plus 30 is our final answer. So 5 multiplied by 3x is 15x. 5 multiplied by 6 is 30. It's simplified. We can't combine anything now because we have can't combine a term with an x with a constant. The next example is very similar, except now we have a negative out here, so we do a negative 6x, or sorry, negative 4 multiplied by 6, and then a negative 4 multiplied by 9. So negative 4 multiplied by 6x plus negative 4 multiplied by 9. So that's negative 24x plus negative 36. Can't combine them because one's a constant and one has a variable of x. This next one is a little different because we have, remember, you can always rewind, you can always go back if I'm going too fast or too slow. This one you have a negative on the outside, but you also have this negative on the inside. And if you have a negative on the inside, guys, I always recommend to keep add opposite, make this plus negative, because then you have a negative 5 multiplied by negative 8x plus negative 5 multiplied by negative 9. Keep add opposite. It's going to save you a lot of issues later on, a lot of problems. Negative multiplied by negative is a positive 40x plus positive 45. So you end up with, even though there are negatives, all these negatives in your original problem, your final answer is a positive 40x plus a positive 45. 5 times negative 8, negative 5 times negative 9 multiplied by negative 9. As we move on, guys, we're going to keep adding additional things to these problems to make them a little more difficult. So again, guys, I see the subtraction So I'm going to make sure I add opposite right away. I'm going to add opposite. So I'm going to keep add opposite, add opposite. So the 8 just stays. I'm going to do this negative 3x times negative 3x. A lot of people, guys, get this wrong. So we are doing negative 3. I'll write this out here. So we're doing negative 3x multiplied by 3x. Negative 3x multiplied by 3x plus negative 3x times 6. And then plus negative 4x. So when we look at this, we have to do these two sets of multiplication right here. 3x, negative 3x multiplied by 3x. First of all, it's a negative multiplied by positive, so we know it's going to be negative. If we do 3 multiplied by 3, 3 multiplied by 3 is negative 9. X multiplied by x, x multiplied by x is x squared. X times x is x to the second. X times x is x to the second. So 3 times 3 is 9, and x times x is x squared. So if you're multiplying something with a variable times something with that same variable, you have to multiply these. So that becomes x squared, negative 9x squared plus, here we have a negative 3 multiplied by a 6. So that'd be negative 18, but then you just have 1x. There's nothing to multiply this x by. So it's negative 18x. Because really you're doing negative 3 multiplied by x multiplied by 6. So the 3 and the 6 multiply, and the x is just left. Because you can't multiply the x by, by the 3 or the 6. So you still have the x here plus negative 4x. What can we combine here? Well, we did our distributing. We did the negative 3 times the 3, negative 3 times the 6. Now we can combine like terms. There's no other constants, there's no other squares, but we can certainly combine this negative 18x plus negative 4. So we have negative 18x plus negative 4x to give us negative 22x's. So we have negative 9x squared. We want to list this first because that's the greatest exponent. Minus 22x plus 8. Negative 9x minus 22x plus 8 is our final answer. It got more complicated, no doubt about it, guys, but these are the types of problems you're definitely going to be expected to know how to solve them, guys. So, on this next one, guys, we're going to add one more level, guys, and this is really kind of it, where we're going to go with this. And that is this whole idea of sometimes you'll have an operation like a subtraction, but there won't be a number in front of these parentheses. So we're going to add opposite. Add opposite. So we have to distribute this negative. Well, what does that mean to distribute this negative? So negative times 2x. Well, this is almost like a negative 1 right here. Negative 1. So it's like negative 1 multiplied by 2. Well, that would be a negative 2x. And then negative 1 multiplied by 5. So that's going to be plus negative 5x. Plus 6 times 4, 24x, 6 multiplied by negative 8. So that's plus negative 48. And then we combine like terms. This is the tricky part, guys. This negative, we're distributing the negative to both of these terms in here. So then we combine these like terms. We can combine this x plus negative 5x plus 24x. So we can combine all of those together. Negative 2x plus negative 5x plus 24x. That's negative 7x plus 24x. And we get 24x minus 7x. We can't do, so 17x. And then we also have to combine the, this negative 12 constant with this negative 48. So negative 12 plus negative 48 gives us negative 60. So we have 17x minus 60. This next one, guys, is very similar. If you want to go ahead and try it and then pause the video, that's a good idea, and pause it and then see if you get it right. It's similar. See if you guys can do this. It's a little different, but it's similar. Alright, so hopefully you paused it. So this is what happens. We distribute this negative. So negative, like a negative 1 times 4 is negative 4x. Negative 1 times 5 is negative 5. We combine the negative 4 and the negative 2. We get negative 6x plus negative 5. Okay. We're not going to do example 7 today, guys. We're going to kind of stop there on those 6. Nice job. Hopefully you're getting an understanding of this, guys. This is the distributive property. Remember, we're learning how to use the distributive property to simplify these algebraic expressions. And then also we are re-emphasizing our like terms and combining our like terms. We're going to continue building on these concepts, working towards our exam, and which is going to really build towards our unit on equations and solving equations that we're working towards the next unit, Unit 5. Let me know, guys, if you need anything, have any questions, guys. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully this brought back some memories, some stuff from last year, some of that knowledge that you learned last year in 7th grade. Signing off, Mr. Herschel. Have a good day.